cutter, croissant, with, of course, a lightweight main event as Arman Tsarukyan, despite a 19-month layoff and, of course, the back injury that pulled him out of what would have been January's title shot against Islam Makhachev. Well, he made it just after round and became the number one contender for the new champion, Ilia Topuria. In the first trip, like I mentioned, in a long time, looked like an absolute shredded monster and complete fighter as Arman Tsarukyan scores a dominant second-round submission over number 5 Dan Hooker. After the fight, Arman said, send me that contract for January. He's ready to be the first headlining bout in the Paramount UFC era against Topuria. So, Luke, after watching how easily your Armenian brethren dispatched the well-traveled but battle-tested Hooker, is there even left a possible argument against the idea of Tsarukyan stepping forward, past Paddy, past Gaethje, past whoever else you got, and setting up a very sexy Topuria-Tsarukyan matchup next for the title?
I mean, this is not I would imagine we're going to get everyone on board with this one.
Sure.
It is quite obvious that the best fight you can make at 155 is Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan.
That's a veritable sex fest, if you will.
Yeah, that's the fight.
Yes.
That's the one. There can be other reasons why other fights that involve Ilia Topuria, as we all well know, can be box office friendly or otherwise have some redeeming value. Paddy Pimblett would have some redeeming value as a grudge match. Some interesting fights about the elements of the fights themselves, but otherwise not necessarily the most meritocratic title shot, nor do I think that he would be the most competitive. Justin Gaethje kind of hanging around for one last opportunity. I certainly respect what he's done, and I take seriously what he can do, but also relative to Ilia at this point seems a bit outmatched. Arman does not. Arman does not seem outmatched, or at a bare minimum, seems like he's got the most amount of threat. Dude, that was the best performance by Arman Tsarukyan in his career by a million miles, because two things happened. Not only did he show you what you already knew, he can wrestle, he can scramble, he comes in pretty good shape. You saw all examples of that, but here was the difference, BC. Number one, just on that level, on the skills that you knew he had before, they were applied much more methodically and much more carefully. He didn't have to resort to them. He chose to use them and even had similar setups, not for the same kinds of attacks, but similar setups about isolating limbs with an underhanded grip on Dan Hooker. A much more methodical approach in every way. And then on top of it, he's adding positional advancement, the submission attempt and the success of it by itself. And then on the feet, BC, couple of things I didn't necessarily love, but in general, setting it up well, using it to chain in the wrestling on its own, putting combinations together, putting hand and feet combinations together.
And he wasn't there to test his 5-round cardio. He was there to finish him.
He attacked Dan Hooker. He attacked him. Where did Dan Hooker have more success than Arman Tsarukyan in this fight? And the answer is nowhere.
Just tattoos.
Just tattoos. Nowhere. Nowhere. Dude, we knew... We'll talk about Ian Gary in just a minute, but there's certainly value to incremental growth of your game. As long as you're adding skills over time, this is what matters. But there were pieces of Tsarukyan's game that were missing that you didn't see. Striking comfortability, more than just an overhand. Again, being more methodical with ground and pound, positional advancement, and submission attempts. And you got all of that in
the fact that I predicted Tsarukyan would run through him, and the fact that the odds ballooned to almost where he was an 8-1 favorite by the time the fight started still didn't prepare me for how impressed I would be of, I want to say, the ease of what he did against Hooker. And that's because of everything you said. He put the complete game together. And if you're going to be out for 19 months in an unplanned situation where suddenly people are questioning, your care level, your toughness, all these things, well, what do you do at that time? Called in Khamzat Chimaev as part of that time to improve his game, brought him into his team in his corner. And we saw that. I want to get your take on that. But first, let's listen to Arman talking briefly here about the impact of Chimaev.
Your last submission win, I think, like 8 years ago, but today we saw a new one. Is that Khamzat effect? Did you guys train for submission or just it's randomly?
Khamzat, yeah, when Khamzat's in your corner, wrestling is in another level.
I mean, Luke,
okay, thank you.
Ultimately, his striking was at another level, which is part of this. But if he's going to be even more dangerous on the ground, not just wrestle, not but just position, but going to be able to set you up to get you out of there. He had very violent setups to get to the position to get the finish that he did. This Chimaev effect has to be a big boom.
Positional advancement. Did you notice again? So we talked about Islam Makhachev last week against JDM taking that scoop grip, trying to isolate the arm away from him.
Sure.
He was doing it for Kimuras and other things, right? But here in the case of Tsarukyan, what was he doing it for? He's pulling a limb out to that side because what he's trying to do is set up various forms of positional advancement, to get him to reach on the inside. The point I'm trying to make is the other one I wanted to set up. The positional advancement was tied to going to crucifix. Well, dude, who has one of the best moves to crucifix from side control in MMA?
Zhang Weili.
Well, Zhang Weili, but also Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah.
So isolating that limb, and then you saw him get into crucifix. Now, he didn't hold it as well as Khamzat. He didn't need it, really, was the other point. But to the point you raise, there's a certain level of intensity that comes with having that guy both in your corner and your training camp, and then individual skills. We saw Tsarukyan, for example, in the Joel Alvarez fight, stay in his guard for the most part, but still pound him out. He's such a physical beast on top that's still a thing he can do. But when you can do that, plus move to other positions, now you're creating offensive dilemmas for your opponent. Do you want to surrender the pass? Do you want to surrender the submission? Do you want to surrender having a worse spot for ground and pound? He's going to make you pick one of the three and then just go the other way, creating dilemmas. This is the kind of sophistication to a game I've been waiting for from this fucking guy. I've been waiting for it, and he did it brilliantly.
Speaking of dilemmas, he was hotter than Kelly Rowland in the Nelly dilemma video.
Who weirdly was trying to text him. If you've ever watched that, she was in the Excel program on the phone. It's like, I don't think texting this motherfucker spreadsheets.
Looked like Larry Hughes may have tagged that by the body language in the video.
Probably.
I love you. You know what I love is the idea here of Topuria versus Tsarukyan. Long Island Luke, you have future odds to share with us, do you not?
Yeah, -200 Topuria, +170 Tsarukyan.
Does that seem about right?
Yeah, fine.
All right. Well, we had contact between these two because in Qatar this weekend was not only Hasbullah, by the way, who's taking over the world again, Luke. There was Ilia Topuria, who was in the corner of his brother Alexandre and was backstage. And not only did we have a run-in between the two fighters, it continued back and forth that got spicy enough that you better believe now's a good time to call on our friends from Cuervo for a little something we call shots fired. And of course, Shots Fired is brought to you by Cuervo. Now is a great time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Do we have the video at all? Yeah, so here's the video of the two of them crossing paths backstage. There's Tsarukyan on the left. And, it looked very cordial. It looked like the beginning of the Ian Gary Chimaev video that we're going to talk about in the next segment.
A little more awkward, that
one. It
one.
Looked a little bit cordial there. But Ilia took that cordial meeting and piled on social media. Let's see the tweet. Arman, every time we see each other in person, you freeze up like a scared duck with no idea what to do. You know I handle you however I want. I fight whoever the UFC chooses. And remember, I slapped you and you just laughed. Then you go around acting like a gangster. So keep going. You're on the right path. Just a few levels below me, kid. Luke, let's show this video one more time because sometimes your boy Lalienda can be a little superlative here, be a little over the top. Is that a slap, Luke? Is that a slap?
Didn't look like a slap to me. No, that looks like a European hello.
Yeah, I mean, why not just kiss him here? Here's the response from the Armenian Hulk, though, on socials. Bro, you touched my neck like we were taking a family photo, and now you're calling it a slap online? The clip is clear. Your insecurity's even clearer. I don't need to act tough for Twitter. My work is inside the cage. If you want to know what a real slap feels like, go to Mexico on New Year's Eve. No, sorry. I'll be happy to educate you. See you soon. El Pato. Does that mean the duck?
The duck.
Look, there's a little petty cringe back and forth there, but there's some shots being fired. We're building toward a sexy-ass matchup in just about every way. Do you think this will also be an intense build like the fans want?
Just consider what Tsarukyan did on Friday where he's headbutting Dan Hooker.
Got lucky that you're right. I didn't see it when we recorded Friday's show. When I watched it, I was like, oh, dude, that's aggressive.
Yeah, he got lucky that nothing really bad happened there. So it tells me he might still have some judgment issues. But we're going to look past that because he looked so great on Saturday afternoon/night. Yes, I mean, I think Tsarukyan and Topuria, you want to make the fight for any number of reasons: style, meritocracy, who's a real threat to the title, all these kinds of things. But you know, both of them are probably going to sell the fight as best they can. There's going to be a limit. I do think what that means for the American audience. You have two non-Americans, both English speakers, but non-Americans here.
But it's time to use the Paramount vehicle to
Totally.
convince American fans here.
So, I mean, I think we should have some managed expectations about like what kind of box office return that actually gets us.
Sure.
But just putting that to the side one more time, it's one of the best fights you can make in the sport. It's clearly the best fight at 155 pounds, and no doubt about it, Arman Tsarukyan turned from a caterpillar into a butterfly, I thought, on Saturday.
And I know they bumped up Paddy Pimblett to number 5. I just don't think now is the time. Let's give Pimblett, who looked great against Michael Chandler.
If that's the case, then let me ask. If we're going to bypass Pimblett, which, by the way, I'm completely okay with, what do you do with him in that instance?
I don't know if Gaethje will do it because he seems to be
Let's
title
assume
shot
he
at
won't.
retirement.
Let's assume he won't. Long Island?
He can go Max Holloway.
If you're gonna give that rub to Arman,
So Gaethje would be perfect for
and
Pat.
Gaethje says no to Patty, what do you do with Patty?
I don't think. I put it this way: if they book Ilia Arman, I don't think Gaethje's saying no to Patty. That's the only fight that keeps you in the relevancy here. Because if
Well, he's
You
saying
don't,
title
you
shot
don't
at
think he
retire.
walks?
no, I don't. I think he's bluffing. With
You think
that
he's
shit,
bluffing?
but yeah, I do. I'm trying to pull up the rankings.
I mean,
right now so
imagine
to
if
see
you
what-
did
Okay,
a big ass main
okay,
event in
hold on.
Europe with Patty. And
Imagine
Gaethje.
he's not bluffing. Like, I'm trying to figure this out. What name do you actually go to at that point with Patty?
I'm pulling up the rankings. Let me look.
I mean, the
right here.
point
So we
is,
got-
you could plug in Patty now, but why wouldn't you want to build it up given their backstory? Tsarukyan's the hot thing of the moment. Everybody's like, automatically, that should be the fight. Make that fight. Make that fight.
I fully agree with you, but here's the problem that I think everyone should now focus on. Because we don't have a great answer for what you do with Patty in the event.
Well, we will get an answer. What do you got, Long Island Luke? Give me a name. All right.
BSD is probably the only person
Right.
trending
There's no
upward
answer.
that way. Yeah.
For this reason, I'm a little skeptical that Arman is next.